So we have been very fortunate to have some prominent actors from South Indian cinema recently. And another one to join us is Sundeep Kishan, who has done some fabulous work this year. I watched him in this beautiful film called Bhairavakona recently and Captain Miller. And I'm very excited to have him here. Sandeep, I believe, Sandeep, this is your first UK interview, or you've done interviews in the UK before?
No, I think this is my first UK interview. So I'm very glad
Wow.
to be having a conversation with you today. So
Wow. Well, the privilege is all ours. So thank you so much for choosing us. I mean, you've had a very busy year so far. I mean, of course, you started off with Dhanush. You've also got another film with Dhanush coming up as well. Then, of course, Bhairavakona, which did very well at the box office. It was a beautiful horror comedy, emotional drama film. How would you describe your headspace in terms of the work that you're getting and doing right now?
um, it's an interesting question because you've kind of bifurcated my thought process a little more through your question by itself. Beyond the work I'm getting, I've always been a person who's kind of chosen my work and made it happen.
Hmm.
Okay, I want to work with this filmmaker, but I want to do this kind of a film or a story idea. And I find a filmmaker who thinks on the same line, and I've always chosen to collaborate and make the project happen over. I'm sorry, I don't know where the mosquito came from, but yeah, make the project happen over. Wait for something to come my way. So through my career's trajectory, it's always been a very less percentage of work which has been offered to me over a maximum percentage which I've tried to make happen. Interestingly, Captain Miller and Raayan, Dhanush's directorial, are two films which have come my way over which I've made happen to me. So when Captain Miller was happening, I kind of understood that the magnitude of the story which was trying to be narrated as a colonial revolutionary film set in the period era. So every character had a very powerful depth to it in terms of how we wanted the audience to receive it or accept the part. So they were very particular in casting faces who could bring in a little extra in terms of their persona and as actors to the table. That's why Shivraj Kumar sir was also brought on to play that really powerful part in that film. And then they came to me asking if I could play this part for them. And it had been a really long time since I actually played a part in someone else's story or narrative rather than my own. It had been a while, but here it's not that much of a regularity. Though I started my career off that way, especially for a film in this scale, right? Because you would have always had an ambition or an imagination to want to do something like that on your own shoulder, right? But I was totally blown away by the story. And when that was happening was when Dhanush's directorial came by, and to have someone like him direct and have him ask me to play a part which is a lead alongside him, by itself felt like a major compliment. To think as Dhanush as a director chose me to play a part like that, and he wants me to do it, just felt like an insane compliment, especially considering he's an actor who I really have always admired.
Right. Now, I mean, I'm still very new in terms of navigating the sort of films in Telugu cinema and sort of Tamil cinema as well. I've seen a good few amount to kind of get a bit of an understanding, though, of what kind of films work and what kind of films really resonate. I mean, Sandeep, just from the works that I've seen of yours, see, Telugu is also known for its mass-driven entertainment, right? Like it's very very potboiler centric, very much emotionally centric as well. And I think your work in Bhairavakona really kind of amplifies the sort of landscape of cinema that Telugu is. But I think for you, throughout the films, and I've read a bit about them, is that they seem to always have a tinge where it's not just your stereotypical masala hero. There's always that extra edge that's a bit more sentimental, perhaps understanding of life as well is learning from mistakes and all of that. So, what has really driven you, I think, in these 14 years of your career so far in choosing the roles that you have done? And do you think it's been difficult not to keep doing the same old masala sort of characters?
See, to be honest, I'm a huge fan of the masala kind of films as well, because it's a great watch in the theaters. Like the next film I'm working on is with this filmmaker called Trinath Rao Nakina, who's known for giving consistent blockbusters in that same genre. And this is a mad entertainer. So I'm a fan of those as well. But as an actor, when I started off, I realized that it was important for me to make an identity for myself, right? Rather than be a guy who's just doing those rom-coms or masala entertainers, and I was also a younger guy. There were a bunch of people who debuted with me around that year, and I wasn't really coming from a back form of professional strength that I would have guarantee of work, or I could get combos done at the earliest stage of my career. Today I can, thanks to whatever I've managed to create over the last decade plus. But at that point, I was trying to do cinema which was more real to me, which I liked watching. But then over a point of time, I realized for the kind of cinema which I resonate with the most, there's an X kind of budget which is required to make them, right? So it took an X amount of time for me to create that marketability for myself, to be able to fund cinema like that, to be made that way. For example, Bhairavakona is one such film.
Yes.
The film could have gone any route. We could have gone the Narnia way, we could have gone the Pirates of the Caribbean way towards the end of the film. But we chose to go the emotional, heartfelt way. And that's how the director saw the film. And it is an expensive film to make, and it takes an X amount of time for an actor to invest into making that film. So I wanted to resonate with that kind of cinema. So hence, from the beginning of my career, I have been doing that. But today, I think I get noticed a little more for it because the magnitude and the scale of the cinema is bigger. Otherwise, I've always, like, for example, a Venkatadri Express is a story of which was my first big theatrical, huge success. Very huge success, which was well beyond what we expected at that point. Thankfully, touch wood. When Venkatadri had started off, that is a story of a guy who misses a train and he has to make it back to the train by the next day morning without his family finding out. And Managram, which is my first big commercial success in Tamil, is also a film which happens overnight. And if you see the take home from both these films is about how humans have to help each other. Venkatadri Edco about a guy who wants to help somebody else and always gets himself into trouble for doing that with his own family. Well, Managram is the same. While one is a comic thriller, while the other is an action thriller. So I kind of realized I, as a person, have always been I've had an affinity to cinema, which glorifies humanity, people in general. So that is something I try to put out of my stories very consciously. So I'm glad you noticed it. A lot of people don't get it, but I kind of really try to put those tiny tinges of, because at the end of the day, that's what I believe you're making cinema for, to entertain people. And while you're entertaining them, give them a new story, give them a new narrative. That should not be the foreground of your choice of cinema.
Beautifully said, yeah. And I think it comes about humanity. I think I saw the first look posters of Raayan, your next with Dhanush, and I think it's left me in such intrigue because obviously, I don't think the trailer has released yet, but from what I've known about, again, it's a very human emotion-driven film. Even though I believe it's a thriller, it's an action thriller, right?
An action human drama.
So action human drama. So again, finding yourself in a landscape like that with Rahman's music, what sort of challenges were you faced with as well for this film in particular?
See, to be honest, none of the landscape ever made me nervous because I've never been too conscious of that, because I think that's the one thing I've been confident about as an actor is that I'm very confident that I'll give a little extra than what is expected of me all the time in terms of effort and delivery, because I enjoy that, right? I get a high on that. So that's my high of being an actor. So I constantly try to deliver that. But what would have been more difficult for me was working with a director who's also an incredible actor. And it is a film where my part is very, very prominent. And it takes a very big heart for a man to be able to give away that part to a different person. Usually anybody else in his shoes. I mean, I'm sure even the production house, a lot of people would have suggested him to do it as a dual actor, considering. So to give someone and have put that kind of faith, and then to deliver what they have visualized dot to dot was a very fresh experience for me. And also as a universe, it was a universe which is very different from who I am as a person, where I am as a person, right? So it took me into some dark corners mentally. It was very interesting for me.
Okay, right. I would love to talk about that though, because I see on Filme Shilmy, I love talking about essences that make an artist vulnerable and how they've dealt with that vulnerability. So in Raayan, you said just now that obviously it took you to some dark places. First of all, how did those dark places happen? And secondly, what helped you to really overcome that?
The dark places happen because, of course, when you're all working in one kind of a setup and over a long period of time consistently, you're going on set being that character completely in that universe. Then you go back home, sleep, and you head back there again on a daily basis, right? So suddenly, after a point of time, you like after 21 days plus of doing the same thing, you do kind of get used to that universe, that life, the way you are, the mental. And I, as an actor, really enjoy being the character. I really enjoy living the life of the guy, understanding what he's going through. So being that personality and being that kind of an actor does take a call, right? Now, what am I doing? I've consciously picked up some fun films right after, and I'm consciously doing two easygoing, happy films, which, a lot of co-actors of mine have come back and suggested, sometimes even yelled at me saying I'm somebody who always picks up content based on how excited I am by it, but it's so exhausting. So yeah. So I'm consciously now picking up content which will keep life a little easier. So that's the way I'm getting out of it.
Also, there's been this massive resurgence of underdog stories, and I think like even if we look at all the heroes in all the sort of Telugu films, there's a whole underdog story that it always champions, right? It's always like a guy who's trying to fight against a system or trying to really empower the Aam Aadmi in many ways as well. And I think that's why the cinema has done so well, because they've understood their audience, they've understood the pulse of that audience and the emotions, and they've maintained that throughout the years. For you, in particular, when it comes to the underdog spirit, I feel, how do you feel about that, especially given a film like Raayan, which definitely seems to again champion that whole spirit as well?
See, personally, I have been the biggest endorser of the underdog spirit, I guess, because my entire career graph has been about it. Always trying to do something a little more than what is expected of me. Not like I'm suffering because of it, because I enjoy it, but that's still what I've always tried to champion. But as cinema, I just relate to stories of victory. As I said, I like the whole sense of humanity a lot. So human victory always gives me joy. So I always try to associate with stories which have something to do with that. Beyond that, I don't think I can delve too much into Raayan because it will be against my NDA. So yeah.
यार ये एनडीएस हम जर्नलिस्ट की मतलब जान लेके ही मानेंगे honestly. Like कितनी
but
बार
काम भी तो ऐसा ना, like imagine a film like Raayan, okay?
Right.
Now that is an iconic actor like Dhanush's 50th film. He's directing. It is a collaboration of so many actors coming together. One of the biggest production houses, music by Rahman sir. So of course it's a very highly valued product and commodity in the Tamil market, right?
Correct.
So there is a sense of mystery around it, which is best maintained till to be experienced in the theater. That's what my director wants. That's how my director wants the audience to experience the theater in cinema, and I think it's fair on my part to completely support him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to talk a bit more about the Telugu cinema space, because I was having a conversation with my friend, and what he says is that quite a few times when obviously because the template of like the masala cinema is so strong, and because it has such a strong connect with the audiences, often at times when you do something which is kind of a bit grayer and not just the conventional hero and villain storytelling trope, films like that don't frequently do well at the box office. Why do you think that is the case? Is that the case, actually, first of all? And why do you think that is the case? And how do you think that can change as well? So it's basically a three-part question.
See, actually, it is not true. It's a misconception that has been formed over the years. For there was a phase of Telugu cinema where masala cinema worked a lot, but that was a phase across the country. Like the Bombay cinema, the Hindi cinema was majorly into NRI cinema because the maximum revenue was coming from the NRI audience. And Tamil cinema was majorly into making a different kind of cinema. While Telugu cinema at that point was primarily catering to masala cinema, and it's a face, every industry has it. But that I part with utmost honesty and sincerity, not because I am Telugu by birth and I work in this industry the most, but Telugu cinema has the best kind of audience because they celebrate cinema viewing as an experience majorly. Like it's a need, it's a lifestyle choice, it's a lifestyle need, which has been inbuilt into it. Like they live and breathe cinema every day, they discuss cinema every day, it's a part of their life. So being a Telugu actor who's been around for around my 14th to 15th year right now means I'm already a household name in around 90% of Telugu cinema viewing audience, right? So it's a part of my culture. Like even me, while growing, I was very engrossed with knowledge of what's happening in cinema and with the industry here. Because in a way, cinema across the world is the only way you can put your culture and your originality out across the map, right? Now, that is a much bigger thing I'm speaking of, but in a small scale, what you're speaking, Telugu audience have always been extremely open of all kinds of cinema. There's a Kshanam which will work. There's a Gudachari which will work. There will be a Bahubali which can be imagined, which can be envisioned and executed and made. Then there will be a Prashant Verma who will make a Hanuman.
Oh, beautiful film. That was amazing.
So look at the variety of cinema, right? And these are all individually original brains. And to be honest, Hyderabad is a more recent city, right, in comparison to Chennai and Bombay. It's a more newer city, which means infrastructure and knowledge building for cinema is way more recent and has been lesser. So with lesser exposure, this is the kind of cinema the boys here are trying to have been pulling off, and I feel incredibly proud of it. You know, and the Telugu audience has never been like, it can be a good film from Malayalam. It could be a good film from Tamil. I know of so many films in Tamil which haven't worked in Tamil, but have come out to be bigger winners here. Correct. Like an Ayirathul Oruvan Yugani Kokkudu was a way bigger theatrical success here. And it was one of the most rooted Tamil stories. It was about the Cholas and the Pandyas. You know, and it's set in that era. But here it was a much bigger commercial success. Why? Because they just liked and respected the effort in the filmmaking style. Like a Pichakaran, which is about a story of beggars. Vijay Antony sir's film was a way bigger hit in Telugu than even in Tamil. And it does not have any visual quality. It's just a great story narrated with good performances and very engagingly typed. So to be honest, today, whoever is a part of Telugu cinema as an actor or as a part of the fraternity is very blessed, because you are a part of the best industry. It's about how much you maneuver around and get out the best content there.
Correct. Very well said. Very, very well articulated. I think also for you, Sundeep, because obviously you've had many years of experience of working in this field. I believe you're also the nephew of two very well-known cinematographers as well in the industry. I think for you, because quite often in Hindi cinema, as you know, there's been like this whole talk about nepotism and insider, outsider and all of that. But I think in South, one thing that I have also noticed is that I see a lot of relatives or, sons or daughters or nephews or nieces of famous personalities also working as actors. How does the nepotism debate actually work in South? Is it actually a major conversation point at all? Or is it something that people just accept for the craft and they just get on with it?
See, that is an interesting question, especially when I began. That was a major point of conversation. But 15 years into the business today, so yes, my uncles are cinematographers. But my just one question initially when I started, or when someone asked me that, is name one other technician's nephew or second related relationship, like not a son, like a nephew or a niece, who's ended up making it as an actor. You could probably, like, in the last 2 decades, you could count maybe 2 or 3. Right? It's like literally that of a technician. So usually the nepotism draft works in such a way that when you've been a part of a business for the longest time, you know the ins and outs of the business. And here, when you're related to a producer or a director or an actor, the producer comes with the funds and the business knowledge, with sales and distribution factors, while a director comes with having a set audience of his own. Like this, like for example, if it is a director of Sanjay Leela Bhansali's Excalibur, there is a set of audience who would watch it for him anyways. So he sits in a power of being able to launch whoever he wants to, because it's a Sanjay Leela Bhansali film, right? And third, if you're an actor and if you're a really successful actor, like for example, I love Shah Rukh sir, right? So automatically every time I see Aryan's picture, I see affection for him. It's a very subconscious, because that man has stood as an example for my growth or how I would want to grow all my life. So like for example, Dhanush. When I see his sons, I love them. I have affection for them, right? So when producers here come to produce, they come with the thought process that, okay, people already know these names, they know these faces, they're used to these people. So instead of spending an X amount of money of convincing them and telling them who these people are, half my job is already done. And the difference here is most of the actors who come from the film families here are very, very, very well prepared. extremely well prepared, which I did not have. Because to be honest, I don't come from the whole regular cinema. Like I was an assistant director with Gautam Menon, so I auditioned around for a really long time before I cracked my first job. The one thing which my uncle, being my uncle, did help in was eventually one phase of my career. He became the DOP of three of my films back to back. So the visual grandeur of the film was way bigger than what the budget was being put in. So my presentation was changing. That did become a big advantage. And to all the people who had goodwill, they did come back and have. But it also came with a lot of brickbats also, because for me, the biggest joy of being an actor is being able to inspire even one person saying, listen, it's not like you can't do it. Right? Like, for example, when I came to Bombay to work for Shor in the city, after the audition in the first couple of times, I didn't have the money to get a hotel room because it was around $6,000 a day. Now, that was too much for me to expect at home, So I used to take a bus. I used to come, and there used to be these dormitories in Joru, very clean dormitories, where it used to be $300 a night. You could stay, wash up, clean, and leave in the morning. I used to leave the suitcase in some place like Barista, have breakfast there, go do all my auditions and come back. At the same day today, when I got myself an apartment in Bandra, and I had my car, I took my car there. I got my Mercedes. I drove around for the joy. Now, I'm not taking that away either, but the reason I say this is, how is it going to matter by telling where I'm staying and what car I'm driving? I'm enjoying it anyways, right? The whole point of this is to say, hey, there could be a shitload of stuff thrown at you. You just got to sit back, believe, breathe in, and keep working forward. Things will happen. So when this whole nepotism tag comes in randomly, this whole power of inspiration goes away, and you suddenly feel like, But thankfully, for me, after a point of time, I went through this whole spate of bad bad theatrical recovery cinema. So coming back from that suddenly helped me stand up for the whole idea of never giving up. And I'm really enjoying that today. Because that gives you the strength to fight for anything, right? Like even on the worst day, this dude just pulled his socks and came back is what I want to be believed in known for.
Right. But I think this is very interesting. And I'm really glad that you mentioned about that whole idea about, being well prepared and all of that. Do you kind of feel, I mean, even though you've had lots of hits, you've had successes in your career, and like you mentioned as well, there've also been maybe dry patches too. But do you kind of feel like now, Sundeep, because in a way there's so much pressure, I think, because of social media, because of especially the global acclaim that's been happening as well for Indian cinema now. Do you kind of find yourself really having to compete to really succeed or get to the top league? Because it almost feels like, I don't know, like people have forgotten what it's like to be an actor and more to be a superstar nowadays. And, I think it's just a bit concerning that we're seeing that sort of a phase now.
To be honest, that's not true. There are a next set of people who still experience it majorly. And I see it in the tiniest ways all the time. And not even in India, abroad, I'm talking about. Last year, I was given an emergency visa to go to the US at Abu Dhabi, thanks to all the Nepalis and the Bangladeshis working there. And I've never done a Nepali or a Bangladeshi film before. It was a dubbed version of my films in Hindi that they saw.
Wow.
Okay. I lost my old passport and I just had a photocopy. They said I couldn't use it. And when they realized so many people had gathered there just to see me, the very kind Englishman out there, just the American man out there who works at the consulate, came and said, hey, listen, because I was going as a chief guest for an event, they said, we can grant you an emergency visa for 12 days. Now, if you ask me, this is the greatest thing you can enjoy. Like even today, like when I went to Bangalore recently, I went to a very big restaurant, which I'd never been to before. The place had shut down. And the instant I went and I realized the workers there instantly recognized me, mostly Tamilians and Nepalis, and they reopened the place and made food for us. Now, what more do you expect in life than that? Like that's the max. Enjoy it. Like what other kind of superstar? Like if you want to be Shah Rukh, then Shah Rukh sir today has spent that amount of time in the industry maintaining. Now, if you exist for that long, for that amount of time at that kind of stage, so you will be. That's the magic trick. Everybody today is like 15 years of being there, and you haven't received that level of superstardom yet. Bro, it took Shah Rukh sir that X amount of time. And at that point in time, there was limited amount of media. And whoever had that access and whoever was important to that media was known the most. And there's carpet bombing on media today. So even though you're seen a lot, suddenly it looks smaller because there's so much happening everywhere.
Exactly. That's exactly the point I was making. Correct.
Yeah, so it doesn't really. Now, if you're talking about as an actor, when I started off, I'm being extremely honest. Okay, I'm a Telugu boy who's lived in Chennai all my life. I was trying to audition in Telugu and Tamil. My parents were shit against me becoming an actor because they saw no scope of success. None of my friends even really believed that I was going to pull this off. But I really, really wanted to prove everybody wrong, and for myself, to myself, right, to myself. And I pushed myself. And within the first 2 years, without a single release, I had shot for 2 films in Telugu, one film in Tamil, which was stalled after 6 days of shoot, and one film in Hindi. Then I couldn't even speak Hindi. Right? And all that I had going for me was that I really believed and I pushed myself. I didn't let anybody tell me that I was going to fail. I've had 3 times in my career where people have come back and told me that, oh, this guy's done. Oh, you're completely done. Where I've almost believed it. Okay, that's it. But I just sat back. I was like, no, now what do? I need to make myself better. And I pushed myself. I hate talking about my age, but I'm 37 right now. I can say I look my best at 37 than I ever have. I feel my best.
You look
You
great.
know, thank you. Thank you, brother. I don't know if great, but compared to what I was earlier, I feel way better. So, and I'm enjoying it. And it feels very easy. It's not like I'm really working hard. I just need to focus and believe this is what I want to do. And this is how I want to live my life. And it'll happen. And today, touchwood in terms of my career, I have someone like Dhanush, who I've had the fortune of being directed by. I've had a song with A.R. Rahman sir, which has come out. I have had a Bhairavakona, which has worked. There's a Captain Miller, touchwood, where I've shared the screen space across. Now everybody asks me about Captain Miller. My biggest joy or higher take home is across the country, all languages in every theater. At least twice I heard people scream for moments in the cinema where I was there. That's just a memory I need for the rest of my life. I'm happy. So it's a good face, touchwood. So I think people just enjoy it, not compete too much, find their own original ground.
Absolutely. You know, very, very, again, very, thank you for being so honest and so upfront. And I think this is the beauty of you, Sundeep, as an artist, and your security and your kind of understanding of where you began and how things have panned out for you. What else do you think has really stricken a chord with you and him?
See, I really resonate with him a lot as an actor. See, first things first, when you speak of being Dina being a very soft-spoken person, yes. But he's a very energetic human, but within his own close circles. But after a point in life, when you've done so much and you've seen so much in life, you're just not comfortable being yourself in front of anybody and everybody. It suddenly becomes a very precious space you want to give only to a few people, right? Next is an actor. This man is incredible, right? To be directed by somebody like that on set was a whole new experience, because this man is not just directing by giving expression cues, which is very fresh and beautiful to me. Because I have constantly been inspired by his and his brother's kind of cinema when I started off as an actor. Like when I wanted to be an actor, I was majorly inspired by his films like Kadal Kundain or Dhanush as an actor has always represented the underdog. When he first came in, people always spoke of, oh, how can he become an actor? To him becoming this person who became the star who everybody loves today. So the instant when somebody like me from a normal household goes home and says, I want to become an actor, or goes and tells people I want to become an actor, the first thing they're going to say is, are you mad? How are you going to imagine you're going to be an actor? So subconsciously, we are rooting for these people to win, because that gives us faith that we can win. Right? And that is all that I've always tried to be a representative of, to whichever set of people. I want people to resonate with my victory. Because it's just not mine anymore. Because if it's about my victory, Touch would have done a great set of cinema. I worked with a great set of directors. I can comfortably do one project a year, chill, live a good life, travel, be a great actor, right? But beyond that, the high of being or living life is being able to resonate or inspire. Because as you said, as an actor here, people follow you a lot, or in terms of not follow wouldn't be the right word. They kind of are influenced a lot by you. Actors
are revered, especially in India, definitely. Yeah.
So you want to be a symbol of some sort of strength, right? So that's why if I do right after my biggest flops is when I show the strongest face outside. I go out really strong. I transform into my best looking version. You know, like when people say, oh, this guys, you should go sit a box tub of ice cream. I go work out in the gym. Because right after that, I want people to see that version of me. In fact, when I'm really happy and in a good mood is when I'm eating junk.
Oh.
So, I've consciously turned myself into that person, which I really enjoy today.
Right. Yeah, no, we're great.
So coming to Dhanushna, he's that person too. And I really resonate with him for that. I really respect him for that. It's very tough to be him. It's very tough to be that kind of a person who you want to stand by what you believe in and do things only the way you believe in it. Right or wrong doesn't matter. You stand up to your conviction. And I've always resonated with that. Being that kind of a person is very tough. And being where he is today, being that kind of a person is a great source of inspiration for someone like me. Like, what would be my big term goal? I would want to do a Ranjana and do the Russo brothers film that he did.
The Grey Man.
The Grey Man, yeah. So now if you ask me now that, if that happens, I'll take a break for a year. I'll just take a break for a year, produce 3-4 films, make a lot of, that's how my brain works, right? So for me, I think I'm just enjoying the process.
Right. And I think it's a fantastic time, largely, because I'm so happy that, I mean, even the North-South debates are always happening on Twitter and on the social media platforms. I think largely, as an Indian, I feel so proud of the fact that we're now one entity. RRR winning at the Oscars meant Indian cinema won, not just Telugu cinema or South Indian cinema, but it was pan-India. Sundeep, you've kind of had that sort of pan-India appeal about you because, like you said, you've done Shor in the City very earlier on in your career. You've worked in Tamil, you've worked in Telugu. How does this pan-India movement make you feel? But I think going on forward as well, in terms of course, I mean, socially, it's amazing for us because it changes our mindsets as well as one another. But what sort of contents would you like to now see, and especially in this whole pan-India movement that's happening?
It's respect, right, to begin with. Like, beyond anything else, we're very happy. I mean, everybody is very happy that today Indian cinema is being seen as one together. And we see RRR's musical victory at the Oscars as everybody's, which is amazing. But it took us so long to make that happen. I have been a part of the generation who over a decade ago, when I was trying to audition or track the Hindi cinema scenario, it was made to almost like impossible because just like you asked me some time back, Telugu cinema was looked at first or identified as a masala cinema genre, even when we were making some of the greatest cinema at that point in time. So it took us an RRR and a Bahubali to finally get that respect. For Kannada cinema, it finally took a KGF. And unfortunately or fortunately, eventually it's all about the kind of recoveries that every film can get. The instant you show that this language has this X amount of money that can be recovered in the market, everybody's attention to it is there towards it. And thank God, great cinema was made in the process of getting that attention. We were blessed with that. So today it's respect, and that's great. I'm glad. Today I'll no longer be a random South actor who's trying to work in Hindi, and I rather that South actor would be a great bet to add on to this one film. That is nice. That is good. That's a great space to be.
I mean, I want to talk a bit more about that because you just said that South actor who is auditioning for a Hindi film. Talk a bit more about that, actually, please, if you can, because I would like to know a bit about your experiences, because I'm sure that must have been sort of perspectives you've heard. Because it's interesting though, because I feel like in the Hindi space for some time, and because of the broken nature of what India was, because of the colonial rule, I felt like we were kind of made to hate ourselves and caricaturize our own selves. But I think now it's kind of changing. So it's interesting, like how non-Hindi sort of cultures in sort of like North cinema would be caricaturized, and I've seen like even in South where you'd have like a Punjabi character which would also be like caricaturized as well. So I think we've kind of have this whole stereotyping of both the areas, but now it's kind of like we're having conversations about it now, aren't we?
I think it's also maybe because of I just had the word in my head. It is generalization because of lack of knowledge and exposure.
Ignorance. Yeah.
Like ignorant. I know, like for example, I know so many people who don't know the names of all the southern states. They get very confused. They can't even say Tamil Nadu properly. Andhra Pradesh, Telangana. Oh, Andhra hai na. It's that simple. But it's basic geography. You learn it in school. Right. Now, breaking that barrier across, today being seen across, and in terms of the characterization, because at that point in time, the exposure was very less. Whatever knowledge was there, which was used to make that the kind of cinema, like for example, the Johnny Liver comedy in Hindi cinema. the Brahmanandam Garu's humor or the Vadivelu sir's humor, which you see, is one palette of humor, which is about making fun of somebody or themselves on camera. So it doesn't really matter who it is. At every point, it's just somebody. It's stand-up comedy on screen, right? What is stand-up comedy? You're poking fun at people and by their most basic generalized things, right? That was a palette in that kind of cinema. Like, what is a commercial? Like, very interestingly, once Allu Arjun had pointed out, which is very true today. And if you see the biggest successful films in the country, which have gone across, all follow the same palette. We as Indian cinema identify with the palette of songs, action, drama. As a film, we need everything in it. Our films are longer, there's a break. It's more of a wholesome family experience as cinema going for us. It's a family get-together. So that's our kind of cinema. I don't want to sound, and because anything I say could sound bad, but it's actually not that bad because it's getting better. Today is a better day. That's all I'm going to try to say. Before, like 10 years ago, probably we didn't command or have the same kind of respect that we get today in the northern states with cinema that we did earlier, even with the audience, where the Hindi dubbing market opening up big time, which is as simple as a couple of TV channels opening up in the last decade. A major segment of audience have taken note of actors like us, which is amazing.
So, no, I agree. I think it's great that the respect is being given.
If you realize, the northern audience are opening up to southern cinema because it has always been shelved away. And today, when it's getting its due respect, you're opening up to it. And it happens with anything. It could even be a new restaurant. If a new restaurant opens up in town and you're suddenly taking note of it and you're like, wow, right? So today, the northern audience are taking note of South Indian cinema. And today, hence, it's getting that response. And today, people are having to compete. Today, Prabhas Anna can compete with some of the biggest national stars. Today, I can dream of making an ambitious film, which can someday be competed as one of the biggest films in the country and not just in the south of India. Now, that is opened up today because of this nationalization of cinema. Do you see the power of cinema?
Yeah, exactly. No, 100%.
Cinema could bring a nation together. Right? So we're dealing with something at that level and that big. I think these are petty things. And beyond that, if you're going for the Twitter wars, they are fan wars. Yeah. It's happening for fun. You can never take that seriously. Like Tamil and Telugu people are fighting with each other. You just open, and within Tamil, there'll be actors, fans fighting among each other. Within Telugu, there'll be actors, fans fighting among each other. Now they'll unite to fight against Tamil and Telugu. Now they'll unite to fight against a different state. It is fun. It's entertainment for them. It's like the big boss on Twitter. Don't take it seriously. It's daily dose of entertainment. That is all.
Right.
As far as cinema is concerned, as long as you're not making a statement which makes a difference, a major impact to the society, cinema is concerned, it's entertainment. Correct. Enjoy it. Within this entertainment, respect how hard the artist or the technician has worked to entertain you. Because for you, it could be entertainment, but to entertain you, we're probably doing scariest, wackiest shit.
Right.
And that gives us joy. Just to think that, listen, we're doing this. And it could not be true, but the joy or the enthusiasm comes from the thought that we're doing this. So many people are going to enjoy it. If I'm going to say I'm doing it for myself, doesn't sound that exciting to me, you know. When I say, no, I'm going to do this for, let's say I just have 1,000 loyal fans. But, you know, for these 1,000 loyal fans, I'm going to go work really hard. You wouldn't believe it. On my lowest days, the people who got me, like people say online trolling affects you. I've had some of the most supportive tweets every day in the morning, constantly on a low day. I'd see some random mashup from a fan, which just make me feel so good about myself. And I'm like, shit, somebody looks at you this way, dude. And there's a person who's possibly never met you.
Yeah.
But they've spent probably at least 6. I'm sure that if a person is doing so much for me, they've at least seen 2 of my films, which means they've spent 4 hours of their life focusing on me. Somebody's bothered to spend 4 hours of their life on you, and they've made this mashup. Make your life more worthwhile, you know. Do something better, make yourself better. That should be the motivation, right?
Absolutely. I think it is about perspective, like you said, and there's good and bad in both of it, but we've got to focus on the positives, which is
go for the good. Go for the good, and automatically the bad will exit.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
And most of the other bad is very consciously targeted, planned. So I don't think it is a general. The audience, to be honest, the audience are great people as long as cinema is concerned.
Yeah,
they're very honest about the feedback. If they genuinely like the film, Hanuman is a great example across the country.
Beautiful film, amazing,
and a truly ambitious effort. incredible effort, right? So I think today is a great day. We should never really blame the audience. They're awesome. We are confusing them. Okay, completely off cinema, just about politically. I'm not taking any names, okay? Go on Instagram, check reels. The way the videos are made, 1 second, this party is made to sound like a joke. The other second, this party is made to sound like a joke. And very legitimately, with each reel having 3,000 comments. Okay? Now, how would you understand what is right or wrong?
Correct.
Now, if this is the case of something that bigger, now think about cinema. What do you think about a person as being mentally? What are all your PAP videos? You're papped in places where you want to identify yourself to be related with. Right? So it's kind of playing on people's brains.
That is also very true. I agree with you there. I do definitely agree with that. I think, look, there's I think you've mentioned about your ambitions and what you would love to do. I think obviously given the opportunity, but given the 14 years and 15 years that you've completed,
14 years of completed,
yeah, 14 or 15 years, however it's been, I think it's really amazing to see how you began to what it is now. I think so. A bit of a pensive question to end on, I think, but I would love to know your thoughts.
Pensive is such a strong English term. You know? Read it for the first time on Harry Potter. Like what? Wait, let me look it up. Okay, you have to sound all British about it right now. Come on.
I can't help it.
No, it's good.
But when you look back at the Sundeep that began, what would you say to your younger self? And also now, given that you're at I would say a reasonably comfortable stage of your life, what would you think would push you further or push that drive in you as an artist further?
If I had to go back to Sundeep who was younger, I would say breathe, live in the moment a little more. And today, what would push me further as an artist is again living and breathing in the moment a little more. Because I haven't done it so far and I want to start doing it today. Because we have to kind of understand that as an artist or as just as a human being, there is only an X amount of things you can achieve after a point of time. After that, you're just going to keep testing yourself to make yourself better. Enjoy the process. Don't stress about it. And if you do it, you're going to be good. So my whole agenda henceforth will be able to work on films that I really enjoy making or being a part of. And hopefully that will resonate on screen. The character could go through shit, but I should really enjoy doing that. And then the audience will resonate with it. So yeah, that's my moving forward motivation. As long as I can keep finding stories like that, I would be motivated.
Amazing. Well, look, on that note, but thank you so much, Sundeep, though, for
my pleasure. It was a great conversation. It was really fun speaking to you. And thank you for this set of interesting questions.
Thank you.
They kind of got me nostalgic in a lot of ways. So I like that.
Oh, I'm glad.
I'm somebody who dwells in nostalgia. I absolutely love nostalgia. I dwell in it. I think it's beautiful to always stay grounded and go back to your roots. So thank you for taking me back to that.
And I can't wait to see some amazing more work from you. Honestly, I loved Bhairavakona so much. And I think even Captain Miller was fantastic. And I'm really excited.
Have you seen Michael?
I've not seen Michael.
Do go check Michael out. It's a film of mine I really hold very close to my heart.
I would definitely check it out for sure. And wishing you all the very best for your upcoming projects.
Thank you. Thanks, Anuj.